So here we've got the Acer Aspire 5750G. Now I did the unboxing and sort of a first looks on this laptop before. That will be in the past videos, or if you want a link, it'll be in the description box below, or be in some annotation which I'll hopefully remember to put here now. I normally forget to, but I'll do some benchmarks, user experience on using just the product generally, and like conclusions and stuff in this video. So we're going to start off with a couple of benchmarks to see its true performance instead of someone saying it's amazingly powerful. We'll see how good it actually performs now, so stay tuned and we'll start off with, I think it's going to be Cinebench. Okay, so here we have the Cinebench bench testing program. Now here are the two results that we've got. There's two tests, there's the OpenGL test and the CPU test. For the OpenGL test we got a result of 24.87 frames per second, and for the CPU test we got 2.77. I did the CPU test twice and I got 2.76 on the other one and 2.77, and it obviously keeps the higher score as the sort of maximum performance, because that's what the test is all about, testing the max performance of the system, and in this case obviously it is 2.77 as being the max performance. So I think let's get on to some other benchmark software now, and then after that we'll get on to what it's like to actually use the laptop. So we're on to graphics test 2 now in 3DMark 11. We are only using the basic edition for this, so we're just using the performance test. We're not doing extreme settings, and we wouldn't anyway, seeing as it's a laptop. We just really want to see how it levels out in terms of performance compared to not only laptops really, but systems as well, because you know, a lot of people nowadays are buying laptops expecting them to be the same sort of performance as a desktop, so we just want to see how good this system actually performs in general, really. So on to graphics test 3 now, and I think I might turn this off in a bit and come back with the results. Okay, so here's the 3DMark 11 results, and it's got a P-score of 966, which obviously is not uber powerful. Why did I say uber? It's not really powerful at all. You got to remember though, it is a laptop, and that is actually quite good. And if you see here, it says score histogram of similar systems, and in terms of the similar systems, some are getting down as low as 300 on average, and you know, you've got 4 there and 1 up at 500, but the majority in and around 900 marks in terms of their P-score, and you get some up to 1400. However, the majority, well, you can tell it's the majority, are getting in and around 900, whereas this sits nearly between the majority and obviously some of the higher performing systems. Now if I go down here, you've got the detail score. So for 3DMark it got the P966. For the graphics score that was 854. For the physics score it was 3698, giving it a combined score of 862. The graphics test 1 was 3.73 frames per second, 2 was 3.92, 3 was 5.23, the fourth one was 2.77, the physics test was 11.74 frames per second, and the combined was 4.01 frames per second. So that is the 3DMark 11, and we'll get on to some even better, well, not better benchmarks, but you know, more and more benchmarks, and then we'll get on, like I said, to the laptop itself. So here's PCMark 7. I was considering doing PCMark Vantage and 3DMark Vantage, but I think I'm just going to stick with the two newest ones and do 3DMark 11 and PCMark 7. So yeah, I'll get back to you with the results in a second. So as you can see here, we've got the results for the PCMark 7. So you've got 2087 PC marks, Now, I'm going to remind you again, this is a laptop, so it's all really relevant to the performance of laptops. Obviously I'm doing this to compare it to systems, but it's sort of expected, and there's nothing you can really say bad about getting like a score like that. So I'm going to go down here, and if you can sort of zoom in and see any of them frames per second, I'm not going to read any of them out, but yeah, it's fast enough in my eyes for a particular laptop. So I think there might be one more benchmark to go, and then we'll be on to the what it feels like to use the laptop, and anything that I'm not particularly happy with, and the things that I find particularly useful or quite a nice feature in this laptop. So let's get on to, I think it's the last benchmark, and then on to the rest of the review. So the last benchmark of them all, this is FurMark, and it's not just a standard sort of mess around with the FurMark, with the whole like the burn-in settings or whatever, or just watching the furry donut run around. It is actually the benchmark settings that they've got, and this is the 720p one, not the 1080p obviously, because this is a 15.6 inch laptop with a highest resolution of I think it's 1280 by 768, so there's no point doing a 1080p benchmark if it can only output just a bit higher than 720p. So it's about to finish now, and we'll see what results we get. So here's the results for the FurMark benchmark that we've done, and you can see there it's given it a score 529 with a max GPU temperature of 72 degrees Celsius. Now I watched the GPU temperature graphs, and it went up from somewhere around 45 degrees Celsius up to in the 70s in the space of 4 or 5 seconds. Now that's sort of to be expected when you're using FurMark and you're doing benchmarks and stuff like that, because I've pretty much done the benchmarks back to back, and obviously the temperature is going to slowly sort of rise, and it's not going to cool down straight away. But yeah, 72 degrees Celsius is not life-threatening for a system, but it's also, in my eyes, a little too high. So if you were to do anything like benchmarks like this, I would probably have it on some sort of laptop cooler, or if you're using any sort of high GPU, CPU intensive tasks, I would put it on on some sort of laptop cooler. I did mention as well that it's in 720p due to the fact that it's not a 1080p screen, but that is the results of the FurMark benchmark, and let's get on to like what I think of the laptop personally, and my experiences of using this laptop while I've used it. So this is the bit where I go across what it's like to actually use as a laptop, and then the conclusion at the end. So in terms of the performance, now obviously you've seen the benchmarks that I've done, so you know how it performs in terms of computing power, in terms of what its max performance is. But in general applications and everything, general use, I haven't seen any lagging. It's smooth, it's fast. The only lagging I have seen is in the benchmarks, where it's designed to push the system to its max, and even the highest end systems that you get do lag in those applications, because that's what it's for. In terms of the case and the features on the case, like the touchpad, keyboard, screen, outputs and everything, the SD card, perfect location, you know, on the front. You don't have to be going on the side or the back. Most companies have got this sorted. It's not really something I needed to point out. The touchpad slightly to the left, and you can't turn it off. Now, it's not a gaming laptop, but if you were to game, it's slightly where the WASD keys are, so you might accidentally touch it if you're gaming, but it's not a gaming laptop, and gaming laptops normally have an on-off button, but you're not meant to be gaming on it anyway. The Dolby Advanced Audio, what's it called? Virtual Surround Speakers. Now, the speaker quality is good. It's better than any laptop that I've used personally. But again, it is still laptop speakers. If you want to have really good sound, you're obviously going to be using external speakers. But as a portable laptop, it's better really than what you should expect from a laptop. What else? The screen. Now, it is only 1280 by 768, but it does. So if you want 1080p, it does come up with a HDMI out and a VGA out. So if you're wanting like 1080p, it can take it because it's got the dedicated graphics card, the GT540M. So you know, you've got no problems. Like I said, in terms of performance, you've got no problems running 1080p movies. Obviously, the screen's not capable of it, but it does have the outputs to do that. The only problem that I've come across, well, there's actually two problems. The only two problems that I've come across in terms of the chassis and the little things that you get is the keyboard and the power button. Now, a few times I have accidentally knocked the power button off. Now, that's just getting used to the laptop. You can set in the settings so you hold it down to turn the laptop off, so that's not a problem. It's all about just getting used to it, knowing not to knock it. And the keyboard, now the keyboard's where it's a major problem if you make it. The keys, it fits in design with a laptop, but there's potential to damage it if you don't press them right. They're delicate keys. You've got to hit them in the center, or it bends the connections on the bottom, on the underside, that keep them in place, and they're likely to snap off if you keep pressing like on the exact, like the corner. They're delicate really, so you've got to learn to type properly instead of throwing your hands all over the place and damaging the keyboard, which you'd probably end up damaging on any sort of laptop. So that is really all there is to know about what it's like to use as a laptop. Now the conclusion is, it's a lovely laptop, smooth, looks nice, feels nice. There's just a few sort of bits and bobs that you need to get used to, which you do with any laptop that you've just bought. So if you buy it and you're like, oh no, I keep turning it off accidentally, you know, there's software settings to change that, to sort out, to fix that problem. The key is you just learn to type properly, and then it's a lovely keyboard, a lovely laptop to use, and there's nothing really to go wrong.